There is one image from this World Cup that will outlast everything else. Marcelo Bielsa, the obsessive genius who rebuilt Uruguay as genuine contenders, sitting completely still on his Powerade box as 8 minutes of stoppage time tick away. And across the halfway line, dancing. A team from 10 small Atlantic islands, a nation of 500,000 people, smaller than Bristol, celebrating every clearance like a cup final winner. That image is the soul of this tournament, and it is FIFA's absolute worst nightmare. Because FIFA built this competition for money, and the minnows have refused to play their assigned role. Let's talk about what happened, why it matters, and why the people running world football are genuinely terrified. You need to understand why these teams are here at all, because that's where the irony begins. FIFA expanded this tournament from 32 to 48 teams. 12 groups of 4, 104 matches instead of 64. More games, more broadcast deals, more sponsorship, more of everything that fills the Zurich accounts. The official line was inspiring, opening football to nations that had never had a shot. But that was never the real logic. The quiet business model was simple. Let the small teams arrive, play their cameo, absorb the defeats, fill the bracket, then exit so that Spain versus Brazil and Germany versus Argentina could generate the ratings that actually power the machine. More teams for the optics. Same giants at the front for the money. That was the plan. It lasted 90 minutes. Day 1. Cape Verde, the Blue Sharks, walked out for the first World Cup match in their entire history. They faced Spain, the reigning European champions. Every pundit's pick to win the whole thing. Pedri, Lamine Yamal, Rodri, a squad assembled from Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Manchester City. And Cape Verde's 40-year-old keeper Vocia made 7 saves and held them to a scoreless draw. Spain could not score. The world tried to explain it away. Rust, first match nerves, they will find their level. That theory lasted exactly one more game. Then it died completely. Uruguay. 2-time world champions, 15-time Copa America winners, stars from Real Madrid, Manchester United, and Tottenham in the starting lineup. 20 minutes in, Kevin Pina stepped up to a free kick 28 yards out. The Uruguayan wall split apart. His shot screamed past Muslera into the net. Cape Verde's first ever goal in World Cup history. In the stands, the goalkeeper's mother, who had feared she could not afford the visa to be there, watched her son's team score against the aristocracy of world football. The Cape Verde coach Bubista, in blue denim and a plain t-shirt, was out coaching the legendary Bielsa on the biggest touchline of his career. Think about that for a moment. Uruguay clawed back to lead 2-1. Natural order restored. Except Cape Verde never read the script. Off a Uruguayan defensive horror show, Elio Varela stole in and stroked home the equalizer, his first ever international goal. He led a celebration dance while Bielsa sat frozen at the touchline. 2-2. 8 minutes of stoppage time, and it was the Islanders pressing forward, hunting a winner. Bielsa afterward admitted only that his team had been disorganized, and that Uruguay being the better squad would have to be shown on the pitch. 2-time world champions on the edge of elimination. 500,000 people did that to them. So who are Cape Verde? 10 islands, 600 kilometers off the West African coast. Population just over 500,000, and a similar-sized diaspora across the United States, which is exactly where their group games are being played. They qualified the hard way, drew with Angola, got demolished 4-1 by Cameroon, then won 7 of their last 8 to finish top of their qualifying group above the 5-time African champions. 26 players from 25 clubs in 14 different countries, with more squad members born in Rotterdam than in their own capital. They had never competed at a World Cup before. One win over Saudi Arabia sends them into the knockout rounds. And Cape Verde are not alone, which is what makes this FIFA's true nightmare. Curaçao, a Caribbean island of 156,000 people off the Venezuelan coast, is the smallest nation by population and land area ever to qualify for a World Cup in the tournament's 96-year history. The stadium hosting the final this summer holds more than half of Curaçao's entire population inside its walls. They lost 7-1 to Germany in their opener. For one afternoon, the critics felt justified. 48 teams is a farce. And then Curaçao went out 6 days later and changed the story entirely. They held Ecuador, Arsenal, and PSG defenders in the back line to a goalless draw. The hero was 37-year-old Eloy Room, a goalkeeper who had spent most of his career on the bench. He made 15 saves. 15! The most by any keeper in 90 minutes of World Cup football since records began in 1966. One save short of the all-time mark, which required extra time to achieve. The King and Queen of the Netherlands watched from the stands. The 78-year-old coach, oldest manager in World Cup history, wept openly at the final whistle. Room joked he deserves a statue back home. You cannot tell him he is wrong. If this kind of coverage is what you came here for, subscribe now. It only gets bigger from here. Here is where the full irony lands. Turkey, the pre-tournament dark horse, already eliminated. Belgium, with the last of the golden generation, staring at the exit. Uruguay, two-time world champions, in genuine jeopardy. And it is the islands climbing. FIFA wanted commercial giants going deep and generating revenue in the knockout rounds. It got giant killers instead. And the format, FIFA's own creation, is enabling it. In a 48-team World Cup, the top 2 from each group advance, plus the 8 best third-placed finishers. One shock draw, one heroic clean sheet, and you are in the last 32. FIFA built more doors into the knockouts than this tournament has ever had. The minnows are walking through every single one. Each time, a bigger nation goes home. History tells you exactly why this matters. In 92 years, only 8 nations have ever won this trophy. Only 13 have ever reached a final. The giants almost always prevail. Depth, money, infrastructure all tilt one direction. But the underdog run is the soul of the tournament. Costa Rica in 2014, thrown into a group with 3 former champions and topping it. Morocco in 2022, first African and Arab nation to reach a semifinal, eliminating Spain, Portugal, and Belgium. South Korea reaching the last 4 in 2002. Croatia, barely 4 million people, twice making the final stages. These runs are why we watch. They are why the World Cup is the greatest show on Earth. Pull it all together and the irony is almost too perfect. FIFA built a 48-team World Cup to extract maximum profit, on the assumption that the commercial giants would go deep and the small teams would exit gracefully after their cameo. Instead, Cape Verde, 500,000 people, are 90 minutes from the knockout rounds at their very first World Cup. Curaçao, a boulder in the sea, as one commentator called them, have a point on the board and a keeper asking for a statue. Bielsa sat motionless while Islanders danced in front of him. After the empty seats, the inflated prices, the visa chaos, the underdogs are the one purely joyful thing this tournament accidentally produced. This story is not finished. More group nights to come, more reputations at risk. So here is the question that cuts right through it. Are Cape Verde and Curaçao the start of something historic, or the high watermark before the machine grinds them back? Are you riding with the Blue Sharks all the way? Does Eloy Room deserve that statue? Tell me in the comments. Like the video, subscribe for World Cup coverage that follows the money and roots for the underdog, because the next chapter is already here.